Okay, thank you for staying with us. Let's continue, and there is the third part of this workshop, presentation part of this workshop. It's about exactly the infrastructure migration. We will talk about the migration, we will talk about the tools, we will talk about the technical process, etc., and exactly what you will do after that, like a lab. It will be 3 labs. I will explain you how it works, etc. And let's start. Again, we discussed about the cloud adoption framework. There is a lot of tools that help you to understand, etc. Most important part that you can check with smart tools: are you ready or not ready technically? After that, please look on this migration funnel that we discussed before, and I already demonstrated it. That says it's typically for the retiring, there is 30% of the environment, objects, etc., instances. Mostly 50%. It's just for your checking. Let's say 50% is going to the SaaS because it's common services like email, like messaging. Right now we have Teams, like SharePoint, etc., storages, Power BI, etc. All of this stuff could be going like SaaS, and after that you have to define the strategy. How you will go? Will you go with the PaaS or will you go with IaaS, etc.? But anyway, what is the best approach? The best approach for the migration, and even for any cloud, not for the migration, but you have to look on the cloud like play fast or try fast, win fast, try fast, lost fast, right? So you always can try if you have some budget, etc. In Azure, it's really easy that you don't need to do a lot of investment to tries, right? So you can easily to move the solution, you can easily start the solution, you can easily do some experiments with the solution, and after that decide is it okay for you or is it not, is it works for you. And it's why, again, important to understand. And please do not try to go with native. It's another like a pillar to understand the migration process. Maybe it will be easiest way to do, especially when you have cut over of the data center or stopping of the data centers. Maybe it's easy way to just migrate as is with lift and shift without the redesign or building the native application for Azure, just to understand that it will work or not work with IaaS, and after that in 2, 3, 5 months or next iteration convert it, etc. And it's again, this funnel demonstrates that you can first to move just try to convert, or maybe not try to convert, web application, portals, etc. That's possible to easily move like with the code, or easily move like virtual machines. After that, try to migrate and just choose for the migration any OLTP, etc. from the virtual machine to database over the Azure SQL management instance or other instances. And after that, it's hard to move, right? It's a lot of legacy application, PKI system, etc., hardware, virtual appliance. But again, Azure is growing, and right now you can find a lot of different Azure things like NVA, etc., like a virtual appliance ready to use. So like if it was issue a few years ago to move Cisco environment to the Azure, right now with Cisco NVA, network virtual appliance, it's easy to do the same for Barracuda or Checkpoint or F5, right? So like, and it means that the process make it easiest and easiest. Same way, there is a lot of scenarios like 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours means that's retire, replace, retain, rehost, re-envision, and re-architect. And again, there is some scenarios, migration scenarios, that you need to define with correct methods how it will be better to move, like a file servers, DNS, etc. That's rehosting. After that, refactoring and replacement retiring will be the best approach to go with it. So like we are going with rehost, and after that looking, is it possible to refactor, for example, virtual file server. Yeah, it's nonsense, but it typically happens when you take the huge file share server and move it directly with terabytes of data like disks. But it's cost a lot on the after that on the consumption. But after that you can convert this server, because you just need to move. You just need to cut over the data center, right? So your contract is finishing, or the lifetime of your data center is finished. So we can easily move file server as is. Price will be the huge. By the way, I did this for one of the migration, 5,000 machines. It's mostly virtual machines or even physical servers. 5,000 machines move from on-premise private data center to the Azure. By the basic calculation, it was 5 times more cost, because again, virtual machines with the files servers, virtual machines, oversized virtual machines with database servers, etc., etc. After the tuning, after the migration, cost was even less, because we change AD to Azure AD, we change file servers to the Azure files, we change DNS and all SUS to the services, etc. So like infrastructure as a code, as a service, was changed most on the different Azure services itself to pass. So this is a method for the web services, for the application services, right? So like what way is better to go, you have to define. And again, you can do the experiments, you can do the migration when you are doing the lift and shift, and any possible scenarios here. And after that, you can use the transformation to convert what's going on and how you can go with it. And for the documentation, it's really important to understand all these processes, how you're doing refactoring, how you're doing this selection, etc. And there is a really good book. It's quite outdated, Enterprise Cloud Strategy, just for you, 2nd edition. It was a book from 2018, I think. Right now it was for free, and you can try to find exactly the PDF. Just try to find the Enterprise Cloud Strategy 2nd edition PDF download. Landing zone there, still name it not landing zone, but virtual data center, because it was previous name of this concept, etc. But right now it's named landing zone. But anyway, it's more deep and detailed than 3rd and 4th edition of this book, because 3rd and 4th edition it's more about the technical stuff, but 2nd edition it's more about the let's say theoretical stuff and pre-tasks that you have to done exactly for the migration. So it's more strategic book than next one. It's exactly the strategy, let's say. What also the next step for you, again, adopt migration. This is a part of the cloud adoption framework, and you have already landing zone. You configure it, and what says from the adoption plan from the migration, you have to do the workload assessment, you have to do the deployment of assessment, and do the release of workload. So cutover of the existing environment when you're moving from on-premise to the Azure. Yeah, so like you do assessment, easy. You do the deployment, so you use the tools like Azure Migrate. In reality, Azure Migrate use Azure Site Recovery to work with it, and Azure Site Recovery replicates the machines and it's ready. But how you are planning to do the release, what you have to again do, how you do cutover, how you change the documentation, how you control the governance, etc., it's third part. On the labs, you will do assessment, you will do deployment, and a little bit of release workload, because you will need to do testing on your environment, change the configuration of your environment, etc. It will happen exactly on the lab. And for the migration plan, for the migration tool, for the adopt part of the migration, Microsoft provides you technical stuff, name it Azure Migrate. Azure Migrate itself, it's, let's say, nothing than service that is a hub integrator for a lot of tools, collect this data, check this data, and use different tools to analyze the collected data. For example, when we are talking Azure Migrate in terms of Azure migration services, we are not using itself Azure Migrate. Azure Migrate just wrap up Azure Site Recovery, right? Do replication, but you think that it's migration, but in reality it's just Azure Site Recovery process. So, and for the released workload, you can use other tools that you have to define, like Monitor, like Azure or Microsoft Defender for the cloud, Security Center before, Azure Advisor to understand, and cost management. Plus, this Azure Migrate can be integrated, or this additional tools can be integrated with Azure Migrate and send the data. It's really often asked me which one we have to choose and which one's the better or not better, just to understand that at first all of these tools mostly is not a free tool, so like you have to pay for these tools. Personally, it's again depends what you're looking for, and personally what you're looking in terms of operations and what you're planning to migrate. Personally, me, I am using this Cloud Demise sometimes. So Cloud Demise is really good tool. So, but it's not like my recommendation. Just to be aware that there is a lot of different tools. I have experience with Cloud Demise and it works with. So the central hubs, yeah, support again migration of different stuff. It's do the different discovery way and provide you different vision or analysis of the data from the scenarios, right? So what we can to migrate by Azure Migrate. Azure Migrate can migrate Windows and Linux services, can migrate the databases, SQL databases, can migrate the data itself over the direct connection or over the data box from Microsoft. It's a special device that allows you to copy your data to the physical, protected physical box. Microsoft will ship this box for you with the special service. You will plug it on your network. You will get the special keys, etc., and copy the data by the tool. After that, you ship this box back, and again, it's protected, encrypted, etc., and Microsoft will plug this box back to the Azure infrastructure, and you will copy this data from the Azure infrastructure. It provides you the huge network performance, like terabytes per second. If someone from 80s, when I start to work with the computers, do you remember it was FidoNet and FloppyNet when we move the data really fast, because at that time modems was 200 baud. It's like 1 kilobits per second, 1 kilobits per second, right? But by the floppy you can move how much it was, 800 kilobytes on one floppy. But right now this idea with the moving the data, it's exactly when you move the terabytes on the physical device between you, your data center, and Azure, and copy to your services. Virtual desktops, you can access and move the virtual desktops, and web application. If we're talking about .NET application, yeah, we can easily move this .NET application directly to the web application service in Azure. From the destination server, we can copy or migrate the virtual machine to Azure virtual machine, or physical machine to Azure virtual machines. You can migrate to SQL database. You can migrate to the SQL managed instance. You can migrate to Azure Virtual VMware solution or application service. And again, physical servers, we support the physical servers. Hyper-V VMware servers could be supported. It could be copied from on-premise, from AWS and Google Cloud, GCP, all of this stuff working with. For the tools, again, so for Azure Migrate, Server Assistant, Server Migration, Database Assessment, Database Migration, Application Assessment, and Application Migration, Data Box for the migration, and MoveAir to move the data, plus a lot of additional tools. And what exactly about the assessment? What is the reason to do the assessment? There is three reasons in reality. Check exactly the compatibility and possibility to migrate the existing virtual machine or physical servers to Azure. Do the check, and is it Azure readiness or not? You can see here. Second part, it's exactly the costing, but again, it will be the cost only for the Azure virtual machines, estimated cost, and storage. And the third part of this assessment is diagram like this. You can see it, that provide you idea how your infrastructure connected. And this part, maybe it's most important than this too, because even if you have, it's really often happens, even if you have even application owner in your team for the migration, and it says that we need this, and these machines, it will be not true. Trust me. You need to analyze this situation during, let's say, maybe months, when all function of the application will be run. Because I had, in my experience, some situation when they say, okay, this set of the machine you can migrate. We migrated 2 weeks after the migration. They say, oh no, our report does not work. Why? We don't know. And after, because the current infrastructure was destroyed. And after that, we found that with talking with the application team support, I mean vendor team support, that there was some configured file server, file share, where this reported should be stored like a templates. It's like just as send the template, store it somewhere, because a lot of different servers use it to do the common report part by time, like a cluster. One of the servers initially stores the template of the report, and after that, from this share, these reports were downloaded by another servers. That's all. And when the machine was configured, one of the common file servers was configured, like as the file share, the small one, hidden file share was used. That's all. And it's why, again, important to do this discovery of dependencies that analyze where the machine connected, which services is used, etc., etc. And by the way, you will do this dependency report during the assessment phase. It's maybe most important part of this dependency report. The same for the database. So assessment for the database, you can do the assessment by the tool database migration agent. It's one of the tools that you can use, and also right now Microsoft provides the second tools. It's database migration service, DMA and DMS. So service will be better, let's say, to do the huge migrations, that's agents that you need to install on each machine. But on the lab, you will do assessment with DMA and will do the migration exactly with the DMS. So like, and these two services can work separately and independently. And migration, as I mentioned before, Azure Migrate and server migration, it's a way for the replication. And for the replication of the virtual machines, Azure use the Azure Site Recovery Service, creates the replication of the physical machine and replica, and copies this replica to the storage. And after that, when you are doing the cutover, it's exactly, or migrate, it's exactly the failover on command on the Azure Site Recovery. But you can't see the Azure Site Recovery because infrastructure of Azure Site Recovery will be wrapped and hidden by the Azure Migrate process. So you can do not only the migration, you can also do the test migration, because it's again nature of the Azure Site Recovery. What it means, test migration, it means that replicated data, replicated images will not be affected, but near the replicated images will be created just a difference disk that will be used during the testing. And this difference disk will be destroyed after the test. It's how to easy to test it. And when it says it cut over to Azure with zero data loss, yeah, it's possible, but you have to understand that machines, source machines, will be just stopped before doing the exactly cut over of the infrastructure. So, and again, back to the architecture, you can find which tools you can use and which services you can use. So like you can see this: modernize data and application, migrate data only, migrate application. So like, what is the best way? IS migration for data and for the application, migration for the IS again with the different clusters, etc., etc. All of these scenarios again provided by CUF, and you can find it, but looks like frozen. And there is a lot of migration stuff, Azure Migrate book, Azure Migrate learning. But anyway, just to understand that this lab is really, really good for you to better understand and do the exactly hands-on experience. But anyway, if you have no chance to do the labs, or after that wants to return to these labs as is, we did pre-recorded sessions for the labs. So you can easily go. I will share with you the links for the pre-recorded labs one by one. So these 3 labs, you can look for the links on the chat. It's one, it's, and all steps, by the way, you can use it as instruction for the labs too. And why it's doing it for troubleshooting, because some parts of the lab require it for the troubleshooting. But anyway, this is the 3 videos that can help you to work with lab. And oops, sorry. And the most important part for this presentation, it's exactly the demo. I will try to explain you not only the exactly the Azure Migrate project and how it works, but also what you have to do exactly. So when you start, if you start labs, you will be logged on this environment. This environment contains 2 parts. One is RDP to the Azure machine that you are using for the labs. This Azure machine itself, like a physical host in your environment. If you look on the Hyper-V manager inside the virtual machine, I say Hyper-V manager, you will find some virtual machines here. So like virtual machine itself in Azure, but you know that Azure supports the nested virtualization, and it's like physical host. In this physical host, you have infrastructure that you need to migrate. There is a SQL server, there is a 2 web application servers, this is Linux WAF, and additional one we will use like a Migrate appliance, just to not deploy the Migrate appliance manually. This exactly the one of the process in Azure Migrate. When you need to do the assessment, you have to download the appliance, configure this appliance, and this appliance inside your network will do exactly the assessment with provided performance, etc. Azure itself directly does not connect to your environment. Only this appliance, and this appliance has only outgoing connection to the Azure Migrate project and send data there. So we will do the assessment. We will do the migration of these 3 machines. Same time, this machine exactly, you will use like a connection to the portal with your credentials, lab credentials, not personal credentials, where you can take the credentials here. So like you see, this is the documentation, this is a lab guide, and first part what I'm trying to explain you. There is environment details, and here you can see the lab, and after that you can copy and paste. I say you can copy and paste your credentials, plus you can copy and paste your password, and you will log on. If it will ask you about configure MFA, please do not just read the documentation and do not click OK. There will be the flag, just like continue for 14 days. Use this 14 days, continue and stay signed in. You can save this password, no problem, because it will help you to work faster, maybe later. And what we have here, we have one subscription. It's a testing subscription here. This testing subscription has resource groups already configured. please do not touch hoster G, because it's your virtual machines that you are using right now. This is exactly where you're logging on. Please do not change any configuration there. Second one, you have Smart Hoster G, where you will do the migration. To speed up the process, SQL Server database already deployed for you. Network already deployed for you. Log Analytics already deployed for you, and Application Gateway already deployed for you. Just to speed up again, do not do any process. Same thing that's like Azure Migrate. Azure Migrate projects, it's already deployed here. You can't see it because if you don't know Azure Migrate, it's a hidden object. There is your project for the migration. This is one. But again, do not touch it. Again, and Azure Database Migration Service, it's also deployed for you, just to use and work. And also, it's really important to understand location. Look, this is location Central US. All our subscription placed on the Central US. Why it's important? Because when you will do the lab guidance, and this is explanation why we migrated. By the way, we will migrate virtual machines like 3 virtual machines. After that, we will configure application gateway, then Ubuntu like a gateway. You will do this on the last step, so we will retire the Ubuntu. Database, we will migrate not like a IS virtual machine, but like a smart host and DB, right? So use the DB. And also, it's really important when you're doing the first exercise, right? They always question, you will find it. Where is it? Like this one. No, not this one. Where is it? Where is it? Ah, here. No, it's not correct one. I don't know. I think on this one there is no any questions about the location, but on the second lab will be the question about location. And again, so it's really important to understand when you build each object. For example, here, please do not look exactly to the region like a Central US, because it could be the different one for your labs. My lab deployed exactly in Central US, but maybe your lab will be different one and will be placed on different region. And if you will put the objects on the wrong region, it could be the issue that one object will be not able to connect with another object, right? So like you have to check every time when you create the object and when you ask it for the region, you see, it says select Central US, like from, but please check, is it really Central US for your for your lab? Got my point, right? So, and yeah, that's all. Ah, by the way, if you have this small low resolution, this page will be hidden like this. You can expand it, or if you have 2 screens or 5 screens, whatever, or it's small for you, you can expand this one by splitting, and instruction will be opened like this one separately. For me, because I have 3 screens. I can easily work with the different screens like suitable for me. And let's start for the demo. I will go, by the way, through the documentation, but with some comments or comments or explanation why I'm doing this. It's exactly the part of the pre-recorded lab, so it's not just like a click, but there is also explanation how to do this. At first, let's go for the migration project and better understand what exactly migration project is. So if you type here, it's best way to work with the portal Migrate. You can see the migration project, and here you will be able find some news, some objects, etc. Here you can see the discover asset and migrate the database only, different scenarios, or you can find the same here. So if you're looking for the migrate the virtual machines, virtual machines, right? So you can go here. If you're looking for the database, you can find here. For VDI, you can find here, and web application here with the tools, etc. For example, if we are looking for the database, we can click and choose which tools we will use and add to our project. So we will use the database assessment for the Azure migration, etc. If you are planning to build the new one, you can do this by create the new project, and you can see here subscription, resource group where you place it, region, project name, and it's really important part, maybe for many companies who is again depends on some regulation, security regulation. Connectivity method, connectivity public endpoint. It means that assessment tool from on-premise will send the data to the public endpoint of your migration. Or if you already have some infrastructure like site-to-site VPN, you can choose the private endpoint and configure the private endpoint in one of the network to use the data to send over site-to-site VPN from the on-premise over the site-to-site VPN to corresponded virtual network and correct subnet where this endpoint will be placed. So it's one step back if you plan to create your own or start, because project is already created. And here you can see that's what we can do with the data assessment with the virtual machines. We can do the discovery, and after that we can do the discovery for the migration. You will do the two types of discovery, one for assessment, second one for migration. But for the migration you can use already done discovery from the assessment. So it's why we're using exactly the Azure Migrate, because it's a hub to share data between both of environment. Let's go with discovery, and what we are looking here, we can do two types of discovery. One is using appliance, exactly the virtual machines that will be placed in your environment and send data back, or by importing the CSV file with some format. So you can just fill out and it will be your discovery. Maybe you have a lot of customers don't want to put assessment appliance right in their infrastructure, but they have some tools and you just can export CSV file or import CSV file that you already have. So templates looks like this one. Oops, I say open. Fine. Why I can't see Excel? Yeah, of course, it's internal machine. But anyway, I can copy and paste to my downloads. Why not? I can't. Funny stuff. No. Okay. Anyway, so but I think I have it. Just a second. Azure migration template. Rate. Yeah, no. Not for today. But anyway, we will do the discovery using the appliance. And it's really important to understand how it works, because you need to, again, choose the right environment. You will do the discovery for Hyper-V or VMware. We will do for the Hyper-V. You will put there the name of the appliance. By the way, there is on the documentation, there is additional labs steps. Let's open it. Oops. Looks like here. There is additional steps like lab validation. To validate the labs, check that you done it correctly. You have to name it each step correctly with provided on the guide names. For example, if I am looking for do the discovery with Hyper-V and system says that's new project, blah blah blah, type smart hotel app, right? I have to type exactly the same like recommended by documentation. It's just for the validation. What we are doing exactly here right now, we generated the key. Assessment appliance, it's just a virtual machine with common configuration. To work with this virtual machine, after that, we need the key that will connect this appliance exactly with our project, identify it, and send the correct data. Same time, we need to configure appliance. To configure appliance, we need just to run it, connect it, and use the credentials. Which credentials we have to use for the demo user and demo password. So this is the credentials, demo pass 123. This is the credentials that we need to use for the virtual machines itself to why it's the demo? Strange. Sorry, password. Administrator, it's already here. Okay, so this is our virtual appliance. To configure it, it's already deployed, by the way. If you're planning to deploy it yourself, you have to go to your discovery and download it, install like a Hyper-V machine, and after that use this key, right? So, but it's not only this stuff, but also you need to, you see, configure the appliance itself. Appliance itself, it started. We need to accept. It will check connectivity. It will check the updates, and it will take some time to check the updates. After that, you will say that it's okay, and you will need to provide key that's already generated here. This one, it's our identification key to connect. After that, you will need to create the credential. You will need to log into the Azure itself. You will need to provide the credentials inside Hyper-V. It will take again a time. What it means, so like for virtual appliance to connect to your environment needs some credentials. So like you can put their administrator password or some special account. If we are talking about the virtual virtual machine manager, you need to create some role and provide the role, etc., to work with it. And after that, we have to assign the credentials to some machines. So like this is a cluster or IP address. These credentials will be used, connect, and system will check it. Anyway, so we check at the connectivity, we check the appliance, it works fine. Right now we need to put our key here. You see, verify. It will check auto update in terms of Azure software. By the way, this one is already changed on the lab. It's a little bit different process, but I mean the steps, but anyway, mostly the same. It's trying to reconfigure them if it's required. Appliance itself, not the virtual machine or operation system, but the application inside. And we will be able to do the discovery and automation. Any questions until we are doing this? Because it can take some time. By the way, on the labs, if you go to the labs and on the instruction, you can see something like it will take like 10 minutes. It's a true. If it say it can take up to 90 minutes, it's a true. Nowhere. So you just generate it one time and you can use it. So like please store it on your safe place. Oops, I lost my here. When you generated it, it will be there. Yeah. So you can manage existing one. Oops. This one key that we generated already. But whatever, we don't need to. Let's back. Do I need the separate activation code? Is the code shared with the event link? No, look, you have this 15 minutes just to check the environment. The real code and link you can find on the chat exactly. Okay, so right now let's back to the we ready to go, and right now we need to log in. To log in we need to copy. Sometimes in this lab this button does not work correctly, but right now it's working. It will ask me my credentials. Where is it? So this is the credentials. Go. And this one is password. Save. Continue. Right now we can close. System will connect to the Azure and configure it to work. I see it say like up to 10 minutes. Yeah, it's exactly the time. Waiting for okay, we're ready. Right now we are doing the again. So these credentials, it's localhost credentials. Local. Username, demo user. It should be on the documentation, and password, demo pass 123. I add it. So this is the credentials. Next one, I need to add some sources. So machines that will be used to work with it. So the DNS or IP address can be found on the lab guide. Which one we need? This one. This is the local host, and the name of the credentials that will be used, for example, localhost. So it's validated, so it means that with these credentials to this machine I can connect successfully. If you need to analyze a lot of different machines with different credentials, no problems, you can define whatever you need and define the different pairs where you need to connect. We are not planning to do the software inventory, so we just turn off this software inventory, but maybe for you it will be important. But anyway, for now I'm just starting the discovery. It means that right now appliance connect by these credentials to provided machine, exactly the machine where it started, trying to connect to the Hyper-V with these credentials, selecting the data from the Hyper-V and send to the Azure Cloud or Azure Migrate. And here we will see, when you refresh in the tool, it's refreshing exactly, but sometimes it does not help. Please do the Ctrl R to refresh. Notification, you see, it's, yeah, Right now we can see that appliance is already configured, and we have this appliance here. This is our appliance. It works. Hyper-V, blah blah blah. So all going fine. Next one. Oops, sorry. We have to wait until data will be collected on premise, sent it, and parse it on Migrate, Azure Migrate option. Let's look on it. Ta-da, nothing. Not yet. Let's check what's going on here. It's starting discovery, so it's continue to work. It's again may take a lot of time. So typically for the 5,000 machines split it between 3 different environments, because it was like logically split, it's take just to collect the data, it's take about one day, 24 hours, I mean, to collect the data, exactly do the assessment, first assessment. Okay, let's try again. If you would like, you can start your labs too and doing the in parallel, or waiting for the again. Sorry, labs is planning to start at 1 p.m. here. So we have already discovered servers 5. We have 4 Windows, 1 unknown, 0 Linux, 0 notification at whatever. And right now, what we can do the assessment for the Azure VM. So we are planning to analyze this infrastructure as we move it like Azure VM. So like discovery source server or imported server that's imported by Excel file. We don't interested in Excel file. We are going with this. Assessment settings, most important part. What it means? It means that, for example, we are going to migrate on the West Europe because prices could be different one, right? So we are going to do this with the euros. We are planning to select the storage type automatically, or premium, or SSD, standard SSD, etc. When you choose something automatically, it means that data will be taken from the performance assessment of each disk, and you need to do this sometime. By the way, migration service for free for you for 1 month, for 30 days. So you can take this for example for 30 days, and after that use automatically, or you can predefine it. Let's do this with managed disks. You can choose the pay on reserved instances or non-reserved instances. Anyway, you will be able to play with this. It will be performance based, yes. It will be 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month's performance history, and percentile that you are playing. You know, that's like which one to be close. Let's say 90%. Which VM series we are planning to use? We are planning to use like I don't remember what is exactly on lab. I think it's DS V3. Something like this. And comfort factor, it means that you add something additional, like you are not sure that the size will be correct, or you are not sure that the machines will turn it on and turn it off, etc. Let's say this one, pay as you go or enterprise agreement. You will need to log in with enterprise agreement. Discount, you can calculate uptime for the machines 24/7 and whatever. And right now I can save this and can select the machines. Again, so I will put any assessment name, but you have to set the correct names here. Group name, webs, and select the machines that we are planning to do the assessment only for these 3 machines. This group will be created. We will use after that for the migration. This assessment will be created. We will use it for the migration exactly, and create assessment. But again, this assessment will be, let's say, nothing, because in reality we need to wait at least 1 week to have the correct performance settings there, better understanding, etc. Same for discovery. We have no time to do the discovery, because discovery will take even more time than just configure the appliance, because you have manually install each one. Yeah, we see we have the assessments. We have the first one. This is our pay as you go, and what we can see here, it's assessment readiness. 2 machines ready, one with some conditions, monthly cost for VMs and storages, storages price also split between this one. And right now, if we click on the assessment, we can see that this one is unknown. Also, maybe it's not supported. The type of the login, the type of operation system, sizes, etc. Which size we Azure recommend to use it. Cost details. You can check it. What is this? Dinashwar, you have the link on the chart, exactly on the chart, like here. Oops. Here. So you can use one of it. I can copy it again. This is the link. And this one, it's activation code. Okay, what we can do here also, readiness, overview, etc. We can do another assessment, why not, with the different parameters, like, okay, I got it, it's fine, but let's go with the West Europe with automatic size, with 3-year reservation. Let's do this way. Let's choose any. Why not? Pay as you go, euros. We have no uptime because it's pay as you go. I have licenses. Yes. No, I have no licenses. Give me the licenses. Okay. And this assessment will be assessment 3 years. 3 years. We will use existing machines. And let's go. We need to wait some time. Is it? Yeah. So you can see that as you go more than reserved, you can see the price for the reserved for 3 years plus licenses, because the previous one does not include licenses. It means that you are using the licenses here, etc. The size of the disk and types of the disk, the different one, readiness, costs, etc. All of the stuff, the different, you see, sizes of the machines were selected, then we proposal, all of this way. So this is the assessment, right? But again, do not forget that this one just only for the virtual machines, it depends on their size and type of the disks. In reality, you have to understand better with the licenses, with the reservation, with virtual networks, with traffic. All of this stuff should be considered too. And you can use the Azure pricing calculator to add additional options or tune options that you have here. And after that, after we did this, we can look for the group and we can find our list of our services and try to view dependencies. But there is no dependencies for now, because if you look here, it's saying that dependencies should be installed before. And we need to configure our workspace. After that, install the agents with the correct ID of workspace for the log analytics. It's old one OMS, it's how it was named OMS, Operation Management Suite. Right now it's just log analytics, but it will be log analytics workspace. You see, you will create the new one, configure the machines, manually install on each machine agent or by policy if it's your infrastructure on premise, and after that you will find the list of the details, connections, etc. between organization. But anyway, we a lot of running of time. Let's stop for now. You have 30 minutes for the lunch. Sorry about that. I'll be from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. I'll be online to help you in case of some chats. Maybe also Michal. Michal, are you here with us? Can't see Michal, but anyway, maybe let's say Michal will join also to support you with this labs. So if you have any questions, any issues, etc., you can ask it. By the way, about the issue, I got the email from the support team of the labs because the global issue of in Azure with migration services, maybe on the database task you will not be able to do this add migration tools, but it will not affect it because we will use not database migration like a tool, we will use the database migration service on the lab. So it will not depend, so like, don't worry on how the lab will work. It's just for assessment. Maybe you will not be able to add the tools and run. Yeah, you will be able to run the assistant, database migration assistant, locally, do the assessment, but you will not be able to upload results in case if you will not be able to add the tool. But as I remember, it's why I'm trying to do this, I successfully added tool, so maybe for you it will work too. Questions? Okay. No, the question is that's move ever. No, I use just Cloudomize because when I work for the previous company, we had the like really tight relations with Cloudomize. Okay, if there's no any questions, bon appetit for your lunch, and we'll be back in 30 minutes. See you after. We'll be shadowing you for the labs. Just be online to help you. And again, thank you for anyone who will decide to leave this workshop. But again, so like labs is really important and interesting stuff. Please run the labs and see you on the labs.